Yo, I had a coffee this morning. Let's talk. I've been playing HSR for a while. I've been in all the betas and all those things, and I actually want to talk about something that I think is really cool about this game. I've already mentioned in a bunch of videos that the free-to-play units in this game are just really good. That's something you can be really happy about if you're someone that just enjoys, free-to-play games and doesn't want to spend too much. But in particular, there's some characters that really stick out. For example, the MC is an incredibly strong character, and this isn't something that you see in a lot of other games. Now, this might make you think that this character is going to get power crept as well, but I highly doubt it, and I've explained why in my Honkai Serval free-to-play video. But today I want to talk about which characters you should invest in right off the bat of the game, because the game is launching today as I'm making this video, so it'll probably be out in like a couple days or whatever, but you get the deal. So I'm going to kind of go over a brief overview of all of the free-to-play characters in Serval and talk about what specifically makes them good and who you should invest in. Right off the bat, the character you're going to start with is going to be Physical MC. Now, Physical MC is actually a very strong character, and they have the ability to pump out a ton of damage. They're a bruiser, they have higher HP stat and decent attack stats, but what makes them actually very strong is the lack of physical break in the game, unless you have someone like Clara, who you may get access to later, but at the start you have AoE physical damage and you have a lot of break capability and bleed capability. She's going to be a very strong starting damaging unit, and you may just want to build her because she has AoE physical break damage, and that's a good utility. But what you're really going to want to invest in MC for off the bat is going to be something like the Preservation class, which you'll unlock once you play through the game a little bit. Preservation is going to turn your MC into a tank. You're going to deal fire damage, and you're going to deal AoE fire damage, which is absolutely nuts. Now, the reason I like Fire MC better than Physical MC is because tanking utility is great, and specifically the tanking utility that Fire MC has makes her very good. Whenever the Trailblazer uses an attack, skill, or ultimate, you can apply a shield to all of your allies that absorbs a portion of damage equal to Trailblazer's defense. Now, if you look at this, it's 4.2% at talent level 2. That's not insanely high, but the reason it's strong is not necessarily because of how strong the shields are, but rather that they activate every single time you take an action with this character. On top of that, the MC skill has a taunt, which will turn all of the enemies towards MC, and Fire MC scales off of defense, which means that you're going to build defense on this character, and you're going to make all of the enemies attack this character. So your allies will not only be more safe from the shields that they have, but they're also going to be more safe because the MC is going to be fronting all of the damage. Now, on top of that, there's a separate mechanic that MC deals with called Magma Will, and what Magma Will does is enhances your basic attack. When you have enhanced basic attack, you deal a lot of damage and you deal AoE damage. It also helps you break with fire, and overall this unit has AoE fire coverage, has shield, has taunt, and is a very powerful utility. On top of that, you also have traces that you can get that will help you even more. When you use your enhanced basic attack, it restores the Trailblazer's HP by 5% of their max. Now, that doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're looking at a character that scales off of defense and has a lot of shields that they're applying to themselves already, this does add up and make them a lot more sustainable. They also have a trace that makes it so that after using a skill, the damage taken by all allies is reduced, meaning that not only are they getting a small shield every turn, but you're also reducing the damage that they take, which also affects the amount of damage the shield takes. You also have some self-buffing things, which the MCs have a lot of. But all in all, between the two MCs, you also have free Eidolons that you'll get just for leveling up, and you'll get things that increase your damage and your general stats. And overall, these two characters are very good, but ultimately Fire MC is going to be a character that you want to invest in because they are such a strong utility, especially if you're a free-to-play player. Having a fire tank is going to save you. So next up, I want to talk about Primo Gems. I'm sorry for the PTSD this character's design is causing you if you're a Genshin player, but I hope that her kit makes up for it because it's absolutely insane. March's talent makes it so that after a shielded ally is attacked by an enemy, she can counterattack, and the counterattack deals a portion of her attack damage, and it can be triggered twice per turn. This basically means that in simulated universe runs, you can build her with something like follow-up attacks and elation buffs, and she's going to be extremely powerful. But that's not actually why March 7th is good. What makes March 7th good is that not only is she a preservation character, but she also is able to freeze enemies. Enemies that get hit with her ultimate have a 50% base chance to be frozen for one turn, and while frozen, they take bonus damage equal to March's attack. Now, this character is a little bit confusing because their shield is scaling off of defense, and so it's a little hard to tell if you should be building her for attack or defense, but generally speaking, Shield Bot is the easiest way to build her because that's going to make her shield incredibly powerful. Her skill is going to give your ally a shield that scales off of her defense for up to 3 turns, and if their HP is higher than 30%, it increases the enemy's chance of attacking that specific ally. Now, that might seem bad, but it has a failsafe. Obviously, if you're below 30% HP, it doesn't take effect, and so you don't have to worry about that ally getting KO'd. But in someone like Clara's case, Clara doesn't have a strong enough taunt to constantly be attacked and counter with Svarog, dog, but if you give her March 7th shield, she has a much higher chance of being attacked, and you can utilize this to deal insane physical damage with someone like Clara. March has AoE Ice Break, and if you go to her Eidolons and you just so happen to get all the way to Eidolon 6, she even turns into a pseudo healer. The healing's not insanely high, but a preservation character that can heal your friendlies is welcomed across the board, and I absolutely love March 7th, and she's definitely a character you're gonna want to invest in. Next up is Heng, and Heng is actually a very simple character that does a lot of good. Heng is a single target wind damage dealer, and he has the ability to slow enemies on crit. This means that you're gonna build him with a crit build, he's gonna deal lots of damage, and he's going to slow down your enemies and prevent them from attacking as frequently as they might like to. That's going to allow you to get more attacks in per turn, and it also helps your skill point economy if you need to go positive by using a couple extra basic attacks on one turn, or just helps you generate more ultimates to use in a short amount of time because the enemy doesn't get to attack and the cycle doesn't end. This character also has an attack buff that you can use outside of battle, and this attack buff is absolutely nuts, and you're gonna love it for something that's hard content like Simulated Universe or Forgotten Hall. His Eidolon 4 also makes him like a budget version of Sela, where if his ultimate defeats an enemy, his next action comes immediately after. So you can use something like his skill into ultimate into skill again, and you'll output a ton of burst damage. On top of that, his E6 slows enemies even more, and he gives himself some crit with Eidolons. Heng is an amazing wind damage dealer, and until you get a character like Blade down the line who has wind damage, or someone like Sampo who does AoE wind damage, you're gonna definitely want to invest in Heng. The next character you're gonna get is a Valley Girl. Her name is Asta, and she does a lot of awesome things. First off, Asta's ultimate increases the speed of your allies when you cast it, and speed boosts in a game like this, in a turn-based game, can be really good depending on the team that you're running and the content that you're in. If she can help you beat the speed thresholds that you need to be able to attack twice in one round, then she can be a really good pickup for speed alone. However, that's not the only thing she provides. Her skill bounces fire damage to different enemies, meaning that if you are in single target, you can break through fire shields extremely fast, but in multi-target, you can actually hit multiple enemies and break multiple shields. For every different enemy that you hit with Asta, and bonus if they have fire weaknesses, you gain attack bonuses for your allies. This is going to make Asta an incredibly powerful support for you to run. Asta also can increase your allies' fire damage if you run multiple fire characters, so if you run Fire Trailblazer, she also buffs them. She can also apply burning damage over time with her upgraded traces, and with her first Eidolon, you get one extra hit of your bounce, which can really help you line up those buffs more. Incredibly powerful character, and you'll probably end up using her down the line. Woo! I know, a lot to take in. We're not done yet. Now, Serval, you're getting her if you pre-register for the game. I don't know if they'll give her to you if you don't pre-register, but I do know she's a pre-registration reward. And let me tell you, this character is actually way strong. If you remember Xiangling in Genshin Impact, she was basically enabled by Bennett, but she does a ton of AoE fire damage, and she was free-to-play friendly. Now, in Serval's case, she's obviously not the same thing as Xiangling, but as far as invested AoE units go, Serval deals a ton of AoE damage, and she can be an absolutely amazing addition to your team, especially if you're just trying to clear AoE with lightning damage. Serval has the ability to deal additional lightning damage based on her attack to enemies that are shocked with the damage over time. Her skill allows you to give damage over time effects to enemies with an 80% base chance, and it deals decent damage itself. So between her talent and her skill, she's able to output a ton of AoE lightning damage. On top of that, her ultimate re-ups the damage over time of shocked enemies, and it can be extremely powerful. I was surprised this character was free to play because holy cow, they output so much damage that if you need someone to carry you in AoE, you should absolutely build Serval. You're also going to get Herta at some point, and she's a great farming unit, and she has the cutest JP voice line. For some reason, my game doesn't play voices, but you'll know when you hear it. I'll keep it a stack with you. Her base stats aren't that good, and her damage output actually isn't too insane, but in Simulated Universe with the right buffs, she can become really broken, and she's really helpful if you want to auto battle or just clear a bunch of waves of enemies to farm up certain materials. Lastly, Herta also has a technique that will let you increase your attack for the next battle, and that can be pretty helpful. So Herta is someone that you will probably invest in at some point, but she's not a must invest right away. I still haven't learned how to pronounce her name. She's a gacha character, and to be honest, I don't mean she comes from the gacha. I mean that she literally does random damage. Like, you have a chance to hit hard, and you have a chance to flop. Now, one thing that she does have going for her is that she gives you a free skill point. If you go to your traces and you get this trace for her, Fight for a Tile, restores 1 skill point when using the skill. This effect can only be triggered 1 time per battle. It is 1 extra skill point, and that doesn't seem great, unless you get her E6, which recovers a skill point after using her enhanced basic attack. This is insane for skill point economy, and let me tell you, if you get this character to E6, she becomes significantly better. At E0, I don't think you need to worry about investing in her, but you can. Lastly, the final free-to-play unit is Natasha, and she's insane. She's going to be your free-to-play physical healer, and she's going to help you survive all of the content in the game until you get another healer. There's not that many healers in the game as of launch, and there will be a lot more later, I'm sure. But something that Natasha does is she has an AoE heal for her ultimate. Her ultimate has an extremely low cost of 90 energy, so she gets it very frequently, and her skill is going to give you a heal over time on a teammate. Natasha also has a trace that's going to let you cleanse your friends. That's right, you can actually shower your friends and remove a debuff from them, because we know Hoyo game players don't shower. Removing a debuff from an ally is incredibly helpful, especially for later game fights when you start fighting bosses that can debuff you and absolutely ruin your day. Her Eidolons aren't super insanely good, but she's a good unit to have in the first place, and she's definitely a character you're gonna build because, like, if you don't have a healer, you're basically screwed. So you might be thinking, Brax, you just told me to invest in everyone. Who do I pick? How do I even start? There's literally too many things going on in this game. Well, between all of these characters that you're going to get for free, some of them you're going to have to invest in anyways. You're going to have to invest in Natasha unless you get someone like Bailu who can carry you through the game. And you're going to have to invest in someone like Trailblazer or March if you want to have a tank that can keep you alive for most of the content. And if you want a damage dealer, Serval and Heng can be absolutely insane, and I cannot stress this enough that you're gonna love building those characters. But if I had to choose one character for you to build that I felt like was imperative and that you must build, I would actually say Fire Trailblazer and March 7th are the two biggest deals to your account. Now, obviously, this is just my opinion, but between these two characters, they have saved my butt in so much content, with Fireblazer being able to do AoE Fire Break, cover my entire team, and self-sustain to some degree. She's an absolutely broken unit. Also, March is able to freeze enemies, which is a utility that, though other ice characters may have it, March has it built into her kit in a very convenient way. Though you still have to win a 50-50, which I know you're not good at those. When you do win the 50-50 and enemies are frozen, that is so helpful for your team and for preserving your HP and giving you more opportunities to attack. Also, just look at her. She's a bundle of joy. So in my opinion, you're gonna want to build these two characters, but maybe you don't have to build them together. Natasha's a given, but I highly recommend Serval as well if you want to be able to deal some insane damage down the line. Anyways, amongst all of the insanely high effort scripted edited stuff that I'm going to be releasing over the next little bit, I wanted to make a video where I could just talk because I feel like I can be more real, and I don't know, sometimes these videos are fun to make. If you guys have enjoyed, make sure to subscribe, go check out my Twitch where I do a lot of things Star Rail, and I'll catch you guys next time.